So today I want to talk about the thrust and the Schilhaw. There are, in my opinion, three varieties of Shieldhau. One is completely defensive and you can't do against a Pell, so we're not going to be doing that one. But we will be doing the other two, which is an offensive shield into a thrust and an offensive shield countering an Overhau. And I'm going to be showing you how to do this on both sides as well as the thrust. So to start out, we're just going to be taking our feet, our regular Vomtog stance. Have your crossguard completely flat in front of you, your thumb directly on the shield, looking square at your Pell. Now what you are trying to do here is use your short edge, turn from this, and drop your short edge directly on top of your Pell. You do not, this is to try and avoid the habit that a lot of new students get into, which is they throw these flat things that are reminiscent of nothing but the Shieldhau admire. So, you just, from this position, get where you're comfortable, and look to hit the top of your Pell repeatedly. If you have to miss on one side, if you find yourself always going to the right like this, just have it land vertically on the opposite side of the Pell. Good little warm up. Get a little power in your back foot, pushing forward on each of these. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do that with a passing step. So you're going to take this, looking to land with the short edge directly on top again. So, boom, boom. In practice, what you're doing with this, it's used against an Overhau. You're trying to collect their Overhau on your strong, on the flat, and bat it away just a tiny bit while you're coming straight down with your short edge. Next, we're going to add the complicated one, which is the gather simple into the passing. What that looks like is you gather, you simple, and then you do the same thing you just did. This is standard entering footwork. So if you just are worried about footwork, gather, enter, pass. That on its own, with anything you're doing with a Pell, will make your distance much better than many other people's. So with that said, you're going to gather, enter, shield. If you miss, that's perfectly fine. It's 4 inches wide. It's good. It's good that it's small. When you hit it, feel good. All right. Now for the lefties, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. This is good if you are a righty fighting against lefties. If you are a lefty, this should be your bread and butter, just mirrored against right Overhaus from right-handers who just want to go like this at you. You want to get your sword in front of your face. This is what's going to collect their strike. Turn it out, thumb directly on the shield, and you just land on top. I'm not particularly great at this one because I don't fight enough lefties, but I do make this work, and I really enjoy it in tournaments because it's amazing when you get it to work right. So just here, back a little. Now the footwork with this one, if you're entering with this, the offside Schilhaws has less range than the onside Schilhau. Your footwork also has less range than your right side footwork. So all you're going to do here is you're going to gather, take a big step in. Now part of the reason that this particular set of actions works is because if you're fighting someone of the opposite handedness, stepping in like this immediately provokes them to attack you, which is why getting this in the way immediately collects their strike. You hit them, they don't know what was coming because not many people do this. And it totally works, and this is my personal interpretation from the manuals that I've read. All right, so again, boom, boom. If you miss, not a big deal. I'm not great at this one. The other really nice thing about this one is when you're doing this, when they strike into your sword, literally knocks your sword towards them. let's move into the thrust. For right-handers, left plow, point on line, cross guard as so, down to your left. The footwork is the important thing. Gather, extend with the simple, and if you land it, you're going to bend your wrist. You're taking a second passing step in so that you don't murder your partner. If this is a real person in a real fight, what happens is you land the stab, you drive through them, and you wrestle them. That's how you take away their afterblows. But because we play swords with real people and we don't like to hurt our friends, when you land this, you bend up like this. And if you have too much pressure, you let go of your sword so you don't murder them. All right, so do some thrusts, gather, extend, passing. Alright, so now that we've done the thrust, we're going to move into the Schilhaws version of a thrust, which is what you see used a lot in successful tournament fencers as the primary threat. You must always respect the Schilhaws. So instead of going to the top here, you're going to be entering slightly out of range and just extending into the point and stabbing. We're going to do the same footwork with this one as we did before. Let's start with no step. Starting at this position, thumb on the shield. Boom. All right. Next up, we're going to be adding a step to it. Just passing step. Next after that, we're going to be adding the simple plus the passing step. So gather, simple, pass, extending. So the next thing we're going to be doing is your Shieldhau or your thrust is not always going to land. What do you do when that happens? The thing that a lot of people do and is very effective and very fast is if you do everything right, you gather, you simple, you throw your Shieldhau out there, you step, and then they cut down on your sword. They fall on your sword. With that, you have two options, although they're very similar. One is you drive up and you wrestle. Can't really do much wrestling with the Pell. You can also, after you drive up, Zverik here or Zverik here. Those are both fine. But what we're going to be talking about is the side step into a Zver on the left side. So, you gather, you thrust, they fall on your sword, you step to the side, you hang, this is called inverting. Zverik here, run away. So all together, gather, simple, pass, hang, Zver, get out. This works the exact same on the other side. So if I gather Shieldhau here, and they land here and knock me down, just open-handed Zver. So. Try to aim lower so that you don't get your opponent in the head. Also, be aware whenever you're doing this, it does come with power, so try to pull your strike as much as you can. It's important to train this because this is in the art, and this is something that shows up not just one place in the art, but literally everywhere. So if you're training this as a martial art to figure out how swords work, which is what I'm interested in, you gotta practice it, because a lot of things come out of this. The thing we did in the last lesson, this parry, is a counter to this specific action. So that's one of the reasons why that was in the first lesson. So again, gather, extend, Zver. with the Schilhaws again. The Schilhaws is actually easier to do when your opponent hits your sword. This is a little bit harder and slower to do because you don't have any pressure. But that's a good thing, it'll work all the same muscles. It'll just be faster in real life than it is on the Pell. Last one. The Schilhaws on this side with some more, or sorry, the Shield on this side with some more Schilhaws. Gather Shield, there. I'm thinking about doing thrust defense for my next one with the Pell. If you have any ideas that you would like me to cover, feel free to leave me a message or leave a comment on this video. Thanks for watching.